peak at any time, which means at the customer end, they don't have to bother their brain by saying, I don't have power supply or I want to charge the battery has run down. No, they only have to drive down to any of our points and exchange the battery. So which means they will not have, they will not going to lack, they're not going to run out of battery. They're not going to run out of storage at any point of time because it's just using a mobile app to be able to detect the nearest swapping station, and they just move in there and they pick up the battery and go in. So compare the time at which they're going to spend in, like I said earlier, we are replicating what happened at the process. So the same time they're going to spend in topping up their fuel at the fuel station is the same time they're going to use in exchanging battery. Just remove the start one and put in the charge one in there. 5 minutes to buy your fuel, 5 minutes as well to swap the battery at the swapping station. So which means we don't rely on the grid system. We don't rely on individual power access to power at individual homes. No, we are already providing the infrastructure to charge the battery at our own base and make the batteries available for them to pick up.
Okay, great. So so do you design these vehicles yourself? Are these specialized vehicles that you design, or are these vehicles converted from fossil fuel driven vehicles, combustion engines to to electric vehicles?
Okay, yeah. First of all, what we are doing right now is we're working with lightweight vehicle. That's where we're starting from before we scale up also. So the lightweight vehicle we did is we designed a three-wheeler and a quad-wheeler. The three-wheeler, it's more or less like our normal three-wheeler we have right now. The difference is the frame. So we design it locally right here. But because of the technicality and the new technology in Nigeria or in Africa,
I think you can put off your phone. What's
an existing. You said? Hello, Mr. Bankole. Hello. Hello, Mr. Bankole. Hello. Hello, Mr. Bankole.
Please, face up. You can proceed.
Hello, Mr. Bankole.
So, can you hear me?
Okay.
We're good. From videos so that it will be easy.
Yeah. I can hear you right now. Hello, Mr. Bankole.
Yes, I can get you, please. I hear you now.
Okay, like I said, we designed this lightweight vehicle by ourselves in conjunction or in collaboration with our existing partner in India, because we know that for three-wheeler right now, Indian has in Nigeria, India has a lot of market there. So we designed this with an OEM in India together with it on this lightweight vehicle.
So how what is the size and what is the durability of this lightweight vehicle?
The size, right?
What is the capacity?
Yeah, the size is yes, like I said, what we did is we're not going out of scope of what is already in the market. We're using the same size of the three-wheeler you have in the market. What we now do is what we did now is instead of the normal three-seaters, instead of normal two-seaters for the three-wheelers you have right now, we would make ours to be three-seaters. That means we have the driver and we have a one passenger row and the third row to be the second passenger row, which makes our three-wheeler to be able to accommodate more passengers than the one they have right now.
Okay. So again, I think maybe if we can just put off your video for a while, probably to help. Let's see how it's going to help the the network transmission a little bit. But let me just quickly ask you also. So, how do
Is
you
it
ensure
right?
security around? Yeah, it's a lot better now. So, how do you ensure security around guard battery theft? So, I've got one of our one of our listeners here, Omolola Olo, is asking that. How do you ensure security and how do you guard against battery theft or damage? Hello? 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 Okay, I think we're having serious technical difficulties around this. And I'm hope that we can get Anthony back on the line as quick as possible. Anthony, are you there? You're on mute, by the way. You're still on mute. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay,
so
good.
Can you help us clarify how do you guard against theft and damage, since what you've got is somewhat based on trust?
Okay, that's another beautiful question there. That's another beautiful question. You see, since we're using a battery as a service and also introduction of electric rickshaw, which people call three-wheelers here, what we're trying to do in terms of asset management and protection against theft is our batteries are equipped with GPS embedded on the battery. And the types of battery we're using a lithium-ion battery, which is going to be which is going to be enclosed in a cabinet and cannot really be tampered with unless they have to use some sophisticated machines or instruments to really break it down. So we're having embedded GPS on it with tracker, and also in the vehicle we have a tracker or GPS on it as well. For now, we're using a SIM-based system. We plan to use a SIM-based system inside both of it, and in the future we plan to use embedded SIM, which is going to be on the panel, which will not be able to be removed. Even if they have access to the tracker, they will not be able to remove it. But now we're using a SIM base, which if they have access, that's if, but because it's going to be enclosed, we believe it's going to really take a lot of stress and energy, which before you can break down is the owner will be having access to it, and we also will be able to have access to it. Did you get that?
Go ahead, please. I can hear you. I didn't get.
Hello, Mr. Bankole.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I said is this. Let me just say that GPS is going to be embedded both inside the battery and also the vehicle. And the types of battery we are using is a lithium-ion battery, which is going to be in an enclosed cabinet. So it's embedded inside it. So access it's going to take a lot of stress and time, which before they can break the cabinet, the client will have access or will be able to know them. So the GPS is going to be a tracking device for us to be able to track our asset.
Okay, but again, oh, you can track that asset. So tell us about how that works.
Yes, I said we are using a SIM-based tracker right now, which will be able to dictate the location of the vehicle without video. We only dictate the location of the video, and we'll now be able to, use the coordinate to locate the asset. We can disable the asset. That means we can easily make the asset not to function because it's going, the battery, like I said, is a battery as a service. They cannot charge the battery at their premises because if they plug it in, it will require a password for them to be able to charge, which we only have access to. So even though if anybody made away with the battery and want to use it at their end, it will require them to input the password for charging there. And immediately we dictate that the battery or the asset have moved from the client hand to a wrong hand, we can easily disable the functionality of the battery from a remote back end.
Okay, so can you help us tell us what is the durability specification around these batteries? I mean, we know that you say is a lithium ion, but with a fully charged size of battery, what kind of capacity can that take?
Yeah, like I said, that we are starting with the lightweight vehicle, and also we are starting with SMEs and the residential. So we are looking at 4 kilowatt hour battery. We are using a 4 kilowatt hour battery in the vehicle. The 4 kilowatt hour battery will be able to move a minimum of 100 kilometer before it can be recharged. And for the inverter, it depends on the load. And the load the client is going to put on it. But at least we are working on having a minimum 4 hours working with with less than 1 kilowatt load capacity.
Oh, really? So now that you have this prototype, right, and you can show how this works, right? Can you help us understand how this market looks like?
Very good, like I said earlier, because everybody is using this type of generator in Nigeria, popularly called a better pass my neighbor. And because of the noise and the maintenance, high cost of maintenance, and because of let me say, dependent on one source of fuel, people are looking for alternate source where, in case maybe the price of the fuel is going up and down, they'll be able to switch to. So that's why I see that there is a huge market for battery as a service solution. And people want to maintain the way they were running their generator. That's the main idea behind the whole thing. People don't want to go away from the way they operate generator in their homes. They don't want to extend the capital cost of buying solar panels, buying storage, which they have to maintain at interval of years. So a lot of people that we did, like the SMEs, we conducted a little survey with the barbers and also the cobblers. They are already willing to have it used in their company. So I could tell you that the real market is so huge that we can exhaust it. Let me just put it that word. We cannot exhaust the market as it is. It's a huge market.
Okay, so but what are the kind of challenges that that sort of hindering this market, from scaling, knowing the fact that there are a few programs out there who are trying to solve challenges around power generation and also use for SMEs, but for these charging stations and electric vehicles, what are the kind of issues that you think is hindering it from scaling?
The major thing is infrastructure, because the electric vehicle charging system, or let me say the battery station, it's an infrastructure need to cut across all in the country. So which means there's a huge investment that need to go into the infrastructure development. So the infrastructure development, it's one of those factors that is hindering scaling up this solution.
Okay. Then what about capacity and skill sets?
You mean capacity and what?
Skill sets, in terms of the skilled hands.
Let me just tell you one thing that most of us don't know in Nigeria. We don't value what we have. In terms of skill set, I would rather tell you that Nigeria is equipped and endowed with a lot of skills personnel. I could bet with you, presently as it stands, Nigeria has a skilled personnel to handle powertrain and any other service, any other skill that we required in this solution. The other factor that is really main thing there, apart from the infrastructure development, is people reaction in changing to new technology, because they don't want to go out of their shell. They always want to remain in their comfort zone because they believe, okay, this is how I've been doing it. Let me just stay there. I don't know what this new solution is going to be bringing up or something like that. So what we did previously is to educate and let them see the importance of it. And I think that is now going to be the major thing to do it. In terms of capacity, like I said, it's just about the infrastructure development. Once we are able to have access to funding, that'll be able to lead to increasing the number or the capacity of the battery swap station, and also the number of electric vehicles to be manufactured locally. I think the capacity increasing or capacity scaling is not going to be a problem. And skilled personnel is not a problem. It's not a problem at all.
Okay. And since we know that there's quite an issue around financing early stage businesses, even with businesses as yours who have shown experience from the renewable energy powering SME sector to shifting to powering electric vehicles. Do you think that, how do you see, or rather not what you think, but how do you see the access to finance for this other aspect, in terms of the electric vehicle part of it?
It's a really big challenge. I'm not going to lie to you, because even the commercial banks are not, all of them are not really ready to take the risk, because it's a new technology completely. So they were like, is it already working in Nigeria? If you try to explain that, okay, it's already functioning in Europe and other continent, they will say, no, what of Nigeria? So there's always a big problem, a big challenge when it comes to funding. But at the same time, there's always a way around it, because we have a lot of programs coming up to support the startup in time, for bridging the gap between the entrepreneur and the investor. So in terms of that, they're trying to reduce access to funding for the startup. But at the same time as well, I think it's still a very huge gap. There's still a huge gap between investor and entrepreneur, especially for CDA, that's the startup entrepreneur. There is a huge gap there, and it's really affecting the innovation.
Okay, so we've got another question here from Lande Abudu. So Lande is asking, like, in terms of market, is the focus going to be urban, peri-urban, or rural? Anthony, can you hear that?
Yes. Yes, we are looking at both. We are looking at rural and urban. But for the first phase, or let me say for the startup, for the beginning of this, we are going to move from the urban to the rural. But since it's a solution that is catering for both the power and the transportation, if we discover that there is a rural area that needs electricity, they need access to electricity, we can easily deploy this battery as a service, the swapping station to that location. So which means once the battery swapping station is at a location, they will have access to use the use of electric vehicle in that location. So I would really say is for both urban and the rural area.
Okay. All right. Also, so are you looking at public, private or public, partnership for, for market entry? What is your plan for main market entry?
Yeah, for market entry, what we're trying to do as well is taking up the risk from our client, being a new technology. So people, if we said we want to make it available to people to use or to buy directly, we would discover that it's going to take a long time for us to really go into the market. So what we're trying to do is we're creating a division within Osquare Tech that will be mobility as a service unit. So we will be able to use this directly by ourselves for mobility as a service. So for people to really see the functionality, how this thing works, that it's same thing as the way forces work. So we're using it like mobility as a service right now for entry market.
So help us understand what what the mobility as a service means.
Yeah, pretty good. It's just like the way we have Uber right now and other companies offering transportation services to people. But what we now do in terms of innovating is we locate a terminal where people are moving from one end to another. For example, people are moving from Oshodi to Lekki, from Oshodi to Sangota. So we will be able to move from one point to the other and come back to that point again. So we will place our vehicle there for people to use on, moving from one point to another. Just like a normal regular taxi that we have in the community, but now it's going to be operated under Osquare Tech.
Okay, but then in terms of pricing, have you factored in the possible pricing mechanism for this?
Yes, definitely. What we do in terms of the pricing is since it's for 2-in-1, let me just use that language, 2-in-1 solution for power and this, because the same battery you are using to power the vehicle is the same battery you're using to power your electricity. And we determine the cost of both kilowatt per hour, the tariff to be paid for power, and also the tariff to be paid for the transportation from the battery, cost of the battery, cost of charging the battery, and also the lifespan of the battery. And we merge it, or we compare it with. Hello, Mr. Bankole, are you there?
I can hear you now. Please continue.
So we try to compare it with existing price of fuel of the way Forces is working, and due to a lot of factors that is in the renewable, let me say in the battery, in the storage technology, we're able to factor in even the cost to be lower a bit. With the cost is going to be like between 1 to 5% lower to what they have presently for the transportation.
Yeah, you said between 25% lower?
Between 1% to 5% lower to what they are paying right now.
Oh, great. But then in terms of ownership, if you're targeting, urban and rural, considering the fact that income is, the income gap between these two groups of people are a bit wide. So how do you deal with the issue of purchase?
Yes, like that's one of those reasons we make it to be 2-in-1, so that in case at location A, if we have a low income stream coming in from the power side of it, at point B, we can have high revenue coming from the transportation side. So we'll be able to augment the two together. So at the rural, at the urban section, we know that the transportation and the power will be able to will be able to move as fast as anything, because they have access to unstable power supply, and people still want to have a kind of a second backup for grid. So that means the battery as a service will be able to work for them, because it's going to be on peak. They're not going to be on a fixed updating. And I think we know that we're going to use the band to augment the rural area as we move on. So that's why the 2-in-1 system is in place.
Okay. So I think we're gradually coming to the end of today's own session, and I can see that the questions are not that much. That means you must be saying it clearly as expected. So what else do you want to add to this conversation, to help you show how much viable this, this model, as battery as a service, and also or rather battery as a service? How can you help us? What are the extra, words that you think you'd like to share in terms of knowledge that can help us understand this market a bit further? Hello,
Mr. Bambara, can you come again?
Yeah, I said, what are your final lines that you like to add to this conversation to help us understand this market a little bit more?
Yeah, it's just a simple thing, like the market is as open as anything, and it's just an innovation that we try to replicate what is happening in the process, and also what is already happening in the distributed energy system, where everybody has a rooftop installation. But what we just innovate on, or what we just did, is just to remove the expenses, the capital expenses from the client. We try to lower it. Instead of them having solar PV at their premises, and also have a storage system, and also be thinking about cost of maintaining the PV at home, cost of maintaining the storage. So what we just did is let's remove this from them, so that they could be able to have access to electricity as the one. Because if you look at it critically, if you look at the rate at which renewable energy is growing or is penetrating, you see it's high, but at still the same time, the medium income earner people are able to afford this, but the low income people are not able to afford it, because they can't be able to spend on the PV and on the storage. So that's what we really do to innovate, to make sure that they have clean energy, and also to create employment, to reduce unemployment in the market, and to make people to be self-reliant.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I think the network wasn't really on our side, but it was quite a good conversation with you, and I hope that we can pick this up, from where we stop, sometime pretty soon. Thank you, Anthony, and we hope to call you back again, sometime pretty soon, so that we can have much more of this conversation. And for everyone who has been listening to us, we want to thank you for all the patience, and for those asked, for the questions that have been asked. I hope that Anthony has been able to address more of these questions to help you understand more, a little bit part of this segment of the market. But we know that there are several opportunities within the, also within the, EV market in Nigeria, and solutions from around powering it, and also to infrastructure, which Anthony also has identified as quite a major gap. And also financing also seems to also be a major gap when it comes to financing early stage businesses around the electric vehicle market in Nigeria. But nevertheless, this is a market that is a bit virgin, if you ask me. This is a market that holds a whole lot of potentials from smallholder farmers, SMEs, and also residential areas where that Nigeria is a country, or rather most of the urban cities in Nigeria are mostly filled with estates, and most of these estates really don't even permit extra or public vehicles into these estates. So this serves as a very big market for such estates. We'd like to thank you for your time. It's so unfortunate that we have to close a little bit earlier today, and we look forward to the next edition by next week. We know that by then, hopefully, we will have sorted out most of the network issues handling this session. Already, Lande, Anthony Lande from Rian would like to connect with you so that you can work together to help create awareness around electric vehicles and also opportunities. So we will do an email introductions between the both of you so that you can see how you can take this to the next level. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bankole. It's nice.